So we'll begin with an inhalation. Om. Sahana bhavatu sahano bhunaktu sah viryam karavavahe tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vitvishavahe. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Sadashiva Samarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam. Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om. So welcome everyone. And so today we're going to be talking about the chakras. So just a little bit more detail and from what we kind of just briefly touched on them last time, but I'm going to go in a bit more detail. So I've got a little bit of a disclaimer here, so I'm not. It's not really an area that I'm of expertise, shall I say, an area that I know very much about. But I have obviously a working understanding of it. But it's not really an area that I have very in-depth knowledge. So we're going to be talking about on the way about the nadis again, and then we're going to talk about how the chakra works. We're going to talk about Kundalini. It's probably a word that you've heard about, and then its relevance for us, so to just get an idea of why we're talking about it. So what are chakras? So they are part of the energy body. So we've seen in the past that the body is made of 3 bodies. Well, we are made of 3 bodies, so there is the physical body, which is really just matter, which is what you can touch, what you can feel, and then there is the subtle body, which is the mind, the emotions, and the energy body. And then there is the causal body, which is kind of a little bit beyond, where the cause of the creation, and it's beginningless. And then us, as being the immortal Atman, we are beyond these 3 bodies. So we are even beyond the causal body, right? So us as the Atman, or as Brahman, as we've seen. So physical body, subtle body or astral body, and then causal body, and then is us. We are above all these bodies, and we are immortal Brahman, so, or Atman. This is what we have been looking at so far. And when we've talked about the bodies, we've also talked about another way of looking at the bodies, is we've also looked at it in terms of the sheaths. So we are made of the 5 sheaths, or the kosha, as they were called. So there are similar ways of saying the same thing about the causal body and the the physical body, etc. But it's just another way of looking at it. So there is the food sheath, which is the matter again, which is we are the shape of our food, and that's. And then there is the pranamaya kosha, which is the subtle body, the energetic body. And then there is the mind, the manomaya kosha, which is to do with the mind. And then there is to do with the intellect. That's the vijnanamaya kosha. And then there is the final one, which is the bliss one. And then we are again above that, all these 5 sheaths. So we are undescribable and formless, and that's beyond all these things. So that's how, in a little way, how the body, the 3 bodies and the koshas are kind of related. So the good working of the chakras, so we'll talk a bit more about what the chakras are, but just to sort of give an overview. So if the chakras are working well, so that ensures really how comfortable one is in one's own physical body. And it kind of has a lot of impact on other things in our life, about our relationships and about the inner peace that we enjoy. So if we're not very well in our own skin, and if there are a lot of problems, then it is suggestive that the chakras are blocked, and the energy in our body is not flowing in the way that it might, that we might have liked it to. So it has got some here. And so the literal meaning of chakra is a wheel, but here we are going to talk about chakras as these energy centers. So there are different viewpoints about chakras. So and there are four viewpoints here, and all of them are correct to a certain extent. So for people who've got a medical training, or who kind of know anatomy and all that, so the energetic centers that we are talking about, these what these chakras are, is similar to nerve plexuses. So it's just nerves going through the body, and there is some truth in that, but it's not necessarily what is seen. And then a clairvoyant, for instance, would see the chakras as vortices of energy. And a psychologist uses the principle of chakras to map the development of human personality. And then the yogis think about the chakras of centers of spiritual consciousness. So they're all different viewpoints, and none of them is wrong. So they're just different ways of looking at similar things. And so I don't know too much about Chinese, in the Chinese bit, whether the chakras is kind of represented, but I don't think so. I mean, it's mainly talked about whether naris and the prana is the chi that moves on, and it's pretty much a physical thing, I think, but I might be wrong here. But it's just something that if you're interested, you can explore. So it's important to go back to the naris. So we looked at prana, so the energy of the prana, which is not just breath, it is the life force. So we are this formless. We are everywhere. So Atman, or consciousness, is pervasive. It is absolutely everywhere. But then we experience it in our body. And the way we experience the prana is about these energy movements in our body. So we can experience vocal cords, we can experience tingling, we can experience all sorts of things. So this is the life force within us. And when we depart the physical body, then the prana goes along with the subtle body and the causal body, leaving the physical body behind, and there is no prana in the physical body. So the energy of the prana is absorbed by cells of living things through the naris. And so the one way of looking at the naris is kind of all these well, they're not really veins, but all these, they are the channels through which energy goes from various parts of the body. They're subtle channels, so they so there. I mean, it's not something that modern science talks about so much, but there is somebody in Japan who'd been looking at it and trying to kind of look at energy movements in various places and trying to document these things. So so again, it's whether you want to, whether we want to accept, the only way of knowing something is through science, or whether there are other acceptable ways, which is what we kind of accept here, is that, we use the scriptures as a source of knowledge, which is kind of beyond what science can do. So there are loads of naris, but then the three main ones that we consider are the Ida nari, the Pingala, and the Sushumna. So don't worry about remembering the names, but it's just to kind of having an understanding of these. for years I couldn't remember all these names, but so the Sushumna Nadi is the one that goes in the middle of the spinal cord, and then the Ida Nadi is the one that goes on the left side, and the right side is the Pingala Nadi. So they are the three main ones. So the chakras are actually located in the nadis. So that, and we kind of think of them as being located almost at the back of the body on the spinal cord. However, most people find it easier to focus on the reflection of the original trigger point. So we kind of associate it with something that is a bit more tangible for us. So for instance, instead of visualizing it behind the navel, we kind of visualize it around the navel, because we're kind of a bit more connected to the navel rather than the point behind. So that's the sort of what people kind of mostly focus on, but really it is this goes at the back of the spinal cord. And also the chakras are not part of the physical body, they are not part of the subtle body either, but they are part of the causal body. So any blockages in the chakras can affect the flow of prana, and so this is why this is important. And so I'm just going to talk a little bit about the nadis here. So the writing might be a little bit small, but I will talk you through. And so the Ida Nadi is the left side of the body, and the left side of the body connected to the right side of the brain. And so we've got, as we know from science, we've got the right hemisphere and the left hemisphere of the brain. So for Ida, it's symbolized by the moon or the goddess Shakti, and it's feminine in nature. And other qualities of the Ida Nadi is cool, active, yin. So those who know the yin and yang, and then it's inwardly directed. It's holistic, more emotional, subjective, non-verbal, and intuitive. So that's the right side of the brain, and Pingala being the right side of the body and the left side of the brain, symbolized by the sun and god Shiva. So that's the opposite. And again, here it's more masculine, warm, passive, yang, exciting, outwardly directed, more analytical, rational, objective, verbal, mathematical, sequential, and logical. So you would also know that from our practice of pranayam or breathing practices. So what we do is we try and balance the two. We work on the Ida and the Pingala Nadi to balance the two sides of the body, and then that's where we get the harmony that we sometimes even experience with just doing a few moments or a bit of alternate nostril breathing. So that's what we're trying to do, balancing the two sides of the brain. And also there is a whole science about it, and a lot of people kind of even live their life based on this, where they kind of notice because the way with the nostril, you can just check yourself. Sometimes the one of them is more blocked than the other. And that is quite normal for all of us, and it changes from one nostril to another after kind of 90 minutes to 2 hours or something like that, and that's quite natural. So sometimes people who kind of very tuned to this, they do things based on how their body is, so sometimes we kind of try and make ourselves do a task, and then it doesn't happen just because we're not in the right thing, and then we kind of start judging ourselves for being whatever. And so whereas some people kind of just feel how they are then, and then they do the task that's more appropriate to do based on how the rest of your body is behaving. So that's quite interesting as well. So if anyone is interested, this is Swara Yoga, so SWARA, where people kind of pay a lot of attention to that. So So this is not two dimension, because these are the points here are not exactly located of where it should be, especially the bottom ones. So that some of them needs to be a bit lower down, but it just gives you an idea. So the Sushumna Nadi here is the one in black, and then the Pingala Nadi is the one that's red. So it starts from the right, and then it goes crisscross up to the very top. And then the Ida Nadi starts from the left, goes from one chakra to another, crisscrossing up to the top. So so here it's well, the way, so there are 7 major chakras. So there are more than that. So there are some minor chakras as well, but we're not going to focus on them today. And so these are the 7 ones where they're located. So this one, the bottom one, is here, and then all of them slightly higher up. So we'll talk about the details in a bit more. But one way to imagine them is that they are telephone exchanges, if you like. So going one and into another, countless wires. So there are loads of them. I mean, here we are just seeing the main ones that going in and out, but there are all the other ones that are also passing through the chakras. So there's a lot of activity that's going in these various chakras. And in the minor chakras, there is slightly less wires, if you like, or nadis that pass through them. So energy flows in and out of the chakras, and so it takes in energy or prana and then distributes it in a way that influences our body, our mind, etc. So this is happening right now, and we, not that we need to do anything about it, it's just happening for us. So so now I'm going to talk about a crude classification of chakras. So there are lower chakras, middle chakras, and the highest chakra. So the lower chakras there are 3 of them. So they are the Muladhara chakra, which is the root chakra. And then the slightly higher up from the Muladhara chakra, or the root chakra, is the sacral chakra, which is Swadhisthana. And then there is Manipur, which is basically located at the navel, which also people call in English the solar plexus sometimes. So not an anatomical term as such, just a term that yogis use. And so these three lower chakras, what they do is they're kind of linked to our external reality. So of how we cope with the outside world. It influences how secure and stable we feel. It also directs or determines how we fit into community, society, and how we express our individuality. And so the middle chakras, so there is the Anahat chakra, which is the heart chakra. And then there's the Vishuddha chakra, which is at the throat, and then the third eye, which is here, the Ajna chakra. And these deal with internal reality, so about how we are in ourselves internally. So our self-perception, how we see ourselves, how we express ourselves, and how we relate to other people as well. So it is our internal reality. And then the highest chakra deals with the ultimate reality. So that's beyond. So as you could probably see in this diagram, so the Sahasrara chakra is kind of above the crown of the head. So that's where that is, and it deals with our ultimate reality and our infinite potential. So okay, so okay, so what I wanted to talk about here as well is that so as I said earlier on, so for the yogis, it's all about attaining the infinite potential, about discovering who we are, about the ultimate reality. So that's about it. And when I'll talk about this a bit later, so I think I'll stop here for now. So when we are working with the chakras in hatha yoga, so in hatha yoga people work a lot with the chakras, and then there is the area of kriya yoga, which is very much related to how the chakras work and how we can use those techniques to kind of attain our potential. So there are 6 aspects when we are working with chakra, and there might be more, I don't know. So there is the chakra color. So each chakra has a different color. And also there's a lot of there's a lot of confusion, and there is a lot of knowledge out there about what potential colors there might be, and you know, when some schools have different colors and all that. So yeah, so it can be quite different, and I think at the end of the day it doesn't really matter so much. It's our own reality. So if you get into the practice of the chakras and the visualization, it doesn't really matter. You have your own version, and that's, you stick with that. So you know, so it doesn't really matter so much that there is a bit of conflict with various schools or whatever talking about different colors. And then the petals, so that we also visualize the chakras in terms of the petals of lotus flower. So the lotus flower has quite a big symbolism in yoga and in Hinduism as well, and it's kind of quite a special flower that kind of doesn't, you know, it can be it grows in mud. There's mud everywhere, but then it goes beyond it and it's not affected. It's this beautiful thing, beautiful flower, amazing, but then untainted by the mud and everything around. So that's kind of, you know, a symbolism of who we are, about the Atma and, you know, the whole reality here, but we are above that and we are untainted by everything else that's going on. And so the other, I think last week, for those who were at the Hatha Yoga class, we talked in the relaxation. I think I talked about the various flowers and I asked you to imagine those in the meditation. So another aspect of working with chakras is the use of yantras. So yantras basically is a whole science in itself. It's geometric shapes. So it is a form of meditation where you kind of look at various, the energy. It's almost encased in these geometric shapes, which is absolutely amazing. So a lot of people kind of have that as their practice to help them meditate and to help them connect with the divine. And so, you know, for people who are kind of creative and very artistic, and that really works with some people, and for some people it just might not work at all if you want to draw it yourself, but you can still meditate on them, and that's quite fantastic as well. And then with each chakra is associated a sound vibration. So basically, every part in our body is is represented by one of the Sanskrit alphabets. So very, you know, even the hand, everywhere. So there are, if we chant certain alphabets, there are different parts of our body that are activated. So this is one of the reasons why we kind of chant a lot of the mantras in Sanskrit, even though, you know, sometimes we chant them in English so we all understand their meaning. But this is why we always encourage people to chant them in Sanskrit, just because in the way that it's all done, it's kind of connects us in such a way that no other language can do. So each chakra is activated by a sound. So we might have used them in class as well. I might have said something, but we might not have gone into the details of why we're using these sounds. And then each chakra is also associated with one animal symbol. And then also they are associated with higher and divine beings as well. So the last two bit I'm not too familiar with personally. So I'm going to go through each of these chakras a little bit, and we can kind of see what they are like. And so this is the Muladhara chakra, which is the root chakra. And so it brings grounding and security to us. And so when we kind of are feeling a bit, so we know that a bit not grounded and a bit insecure and a bit not sure, and then that means that there is some that the energy is blocked there, and that's what causes these feelings. So the location for the Muladhara chakra is the base of the spine, if you like, or the cervix, or the for women, and perineum for the man, and that's where it's located. And so if the Muladhara chakra is blocked, then we have often a feeling of not belonging, so not connecting well with others, struggle with personal finance, jobs and relationships, tired, we feel tired all the time. There is fear, there's prejudice, there's blind faith, there's hatred, there's also intolerance, impatience and greed. So I want to talk a bit about intolerance. So here, we do want to feel grounded, we do want to feel secure, but then we don't want to, to be so grounded and so rooted that we are not tolerant to others and we're not adaptable. So that's so there is a little bit of a, of a give here that we will talk about in the next chakra. So, and so here, I mean, obviously, this is not to be interpreted as always like that or whatever. I mean, there are strong indications, so we shouldn't read too much into it. We shouldn't make too big claims about it all the time. But it kind of works, and it kind of gives something to work with, and also so how we or sometimes also manifest is that people are over concerned with survival and then become workaholic, or just so that's also something that is to do with potential imbalance or the Muladhara chakra being blocked. So here, as you can see here, we've got the representation here, and this is the symbol is the elephant, and then there is the geometric sound here, as you can see, the geometric shapes here, and then there is the circle there, and then the petals. It's got 4 petals. For the Muladhara chakra, and then there's also the beach, the sound vibration, which is lam, and that's represented here. So I'll talk about this a bit later on. So that's the Muladhara chakra, and then there is the next one is the Swadhisthana chakra, and the animal here is the crocodile. And with a lotus, and the sound is vam, and there are 6 petals here representing the chakra. So the yantra is not here. I haven't put the yantras here, so the yantras are probably slightly different. And so what the Swadhisthana chakra does is it equips one to go with the flow and taste all that life has to offer. So it gives us, this space to be, and also to kind of be able to adapt. That's what I was talking about earlier on. So while we need to feel grounded, but we also need to be adaptable. And we know that if we're not adaptable, then we know that that is a big problem, because we get so set in our ways, and that causes a lot of problems in the mind and everywhere else. So the location is in the sacral region, so around the kidneys, in the genital area. So sometimes people kind of talk about it just below the navel area, and sometimes also at the base of the spine. So there is a little bit of sometimes different ways of people saying where they are. And as I said, it doesn't really matter. I mean, once you've got your notion of where you think it is and how you connect to it, and that's absolutely fine if it's roughly in that kind of region. And then the next one is the Manipur chakra, which is at the navel, and what we call the solar plexus as well. And the animal here is the ram. So this is the yantra for it. So that's the geometrical shape there with the inverted triangle and the 3 bits there, and with a number of petals. We're going to see all of them again later on. So, and the sound is rum. And so what it does is it kind of empowers us with the energy required to function efficiently in life. And you know, so what the oomph in life that we need, the mojo, or all that we need to kind of be able to function properly in life, is if you like, there at the Manipur chakra. And when that is blocked, that's again when we kind of not able to cope with things that are going on and in life. And then there is the Anahat chakra, which is the heart chakra. And so that's located in the heart region or around the center of the chest. So it's not the physical heart, but it's around that region. And as I said, the chakra is at the back, but then it's easier for us to visualize it here rather than at the back of the spine. And it governs the energy of love, compassion, so and all the other things like forgiveness, compassion, and you know, and all those kind of feelings, all blocks its expression. So if we need to block its expression, then that's all that this is. And I think the sign is probably the antelope. Don't quote me on that. I need to check. Yeah, I think so. And then the next one is the Vishuddha chakra, which is the throat chakra. And that deals with the communication and equips one to take in information and express oneself. So, you know, sometimes we kind of can't communicate, there's just a blockage there and we just can't say anything we want to. We can't express ourselves. And then that's when we kind of also feel disconnected. That also makes us feel disconnected with others because we can't communicate and we can't articulate and understand what's going on. And so that's the sound. The sign is the swan. And then there is the Ajna chakra, which is the third eye, which is between the eyebrows. So sometimes when we do Hatha yoga practices, I would ask you to concentrate at the point between your eyebrows, and we do quite a lot of little practices there. And that is the seat of wisdom. So, and the mind kind of sees one's dream and then guides us to them. And that's what the Ajna chakra is about, so wisdom. And it has 2 petals here. And so here I've just kind of summarized all this a little bit. I haven't put the colors there, but we can talk about that another time. So the Muladhara chakra has got 4 petals, and then all the various, I can send this to you if you like. So all the chakras are associated with the different elements. So the whole manifestation of the whole world is made up of the 5 elements, and each chakra is associated with a particular element, and also with a particular sense. So just to summarize some of the things that we've already said and add a few new information. So the Muladhara chakra has got 4 petals, and this is the more solid kind of the chakra, and that's why we were talking about this grounded feeling with the Muladhara chakra, and the sense that associated with it is smell, and the sound vibration is lum. And if we use meditation on the chakras, if we use this technique of meditating on the chakras, so then that helps us to develop root support, grounded attitude, and steadiness of mind. So some of you might be, we have done the oak tree visualization a few times, where it's kind of developing this grounded feeling. And that's a visualization. I mean, we kind of maybe have not mentioned the word chakra, but I've said that connection with the ground and earth. So in terms of the asanas, a lot of the standing asanas, and where you kind of, feet on the ground, are just kind of those grounding asanas. And so Swadhisthana is got 6 petals, and that's connected to the element water, and the sense is taste, and the sound is vam. And that kind of meditation on it kind of balances our creative impulse, and helps us with the ability to go with the flow. And Manipur, the navel chakra, has got 10 petals, and the element associated with it is fire. So, we kind of often feel that the fire in the gut, and, there is the fiery thing. So we always, the fire, the digestive fire. So we kind of, there's a lot of connotation in the language that kind of refers to that, this area being connected with the element of fire, and it's connected with a sense of sight. And the sound is ram. And again, this is about the ability to adapt and transform. So the actual ability to do things, to be functional, and to bring changes to our life, or to make us do what we have to do. And the heart chakra, chakra has got 12 petals, and that's connected with the element of air and sense of touch. So air and the feeling of touch on the skin. So sometimes we do that in class. We look at the sense of touch and sensations of touch, and the sound vibration is hum. It's not hum, it's hum. It should be an A there. And that's around creativity, communication skills, if we do meditation on this chakra. And then the ability to overcome limitations of space, and then the Ajna chakra, which has got 2 petals, and that's if you like, a little bit beyond the elements, and that's got the sense. Well, it's still matter in some way, because that's what mind is, and this is the senses and the elements, so it's in the mind. And meditation on the Ajna chakra helps to sharpen our intellect and our intuition. And then finally the Sahasrara chakra, which is the crown chakra. So that's got, and Sahasrara means thousands, and that's actually a way of signifying infinite. So it's got infinite number of petals, and that's because it's all beyond the elements, and that's the formless, the changeless, and beyond all the elements. And that's to do with the spiritual insight. And that's, so these are about the chakras. So I've just realized that I haven't gone through the colors here with you, but hopefully we've seen some of the colors with the drawings there, and I can talk about it another time. So sometimes there is also, so these are, as I said, the 7 main chakras, 7, and then there are some minor chakras as well. And then sometimes also people refer to the bindu point, so which is actually the top, so the back of the head here, and that's the source of creation. And sometimes in some, well, it's not very commonly referred to in chakras, and some people kind of refer to it as another one, but it's not exactly that. So it is interconnected with Vishuddha in some way, but so it is located just back here. And I don't know if you've seen in some sometimes some people in India, especially men, when they get initiated, so they kind of they kind of shave their head, and then they just have this little bit of hair that's left at the back. I don't know if you've ever seen that picture of people. So there are some people who do that at when they get initiated. So then there's that little bit of hair that's left at the back, and that's at the bindu. And what it's meant to signify is the source of creation. So from the bindu came everything: ether, air, fire, water, earth, and letters of the alphabet. So everything that's manifest. And so the bindu also is signifying the storehouse of all the karmas that we have performed in the past, and it's also all our vasanas. So our vasanas are the dominant traits in this lifetime that we have. So that's what's and also it's where it's all the imprints in are kind of kept. So the shape for it is sometimes represented as the crescent moon, and the sound again is Om for it as well. So that's just the bindu if you ever come across it. And so now we move on to this term, which I don't know whether you've heard of it before, Kundalini, whether anyone has heard of the term Kundalini and what it actually means. So here I want to talk about a little bit where it comes from. So again, this is, so it comes mainly from Tantra, which is a branch of a philosophy, or if you like, which is based on rigorous practices. So again, with the aim here is self-realization. So it is using rigorous practices, rituals, and mantras, and all sorts of things like that to actually gain self-realization. So and there is so that's what Tantra is. I mean, Tantra has now kind of made it to the common language, and it's got some real misconceptions. So a lot of times people associate Tantra to do with sex, which is not really what it is about. So, and also there is something to do, there is the commercial or trade name, which is Kundalini yoga. So that's one type of yoga, if you like, that people has been made popular, and where with a set of practices, but that's not what we mean when we talk about Kundalini here. So it's just a name. I mean, a lot of Hatha yoga practices, this idea is to raise the Kundalini, which I'm going to explain what it is in a moment. So what the Kundalini actually is, so the Kundalini is the dormant energy that is in the Muladhara chakra. So there is dormant energy in all of us there. And that dormant energy is, as I mentioned earlier, it's kind of beyond all sorts, it's beyond the subtle body as well. And so it is in all of us, and it's in its dormant form. And the ultimate of chakra meditation, or in fact Hatha yoga, or a lot of practices, is to channel the energy from the Muladhara chakra to each of the chakras until we reach the Sahasrara chakra, which is our infinite potential. So this vast potential energy is known as the Kundalini Shakti, if you like. And in the language of Vedanta, which we kind of looked at last time, we sort of talked about it as the Prana Shakti as well. And also it's depicted in terms of illustration as the sleeping goddess, which takes the shape of a serpent. And so it's down there, and then when it kind of goes up through all the chakras and meets up, and that's where the Shakti is united with Shiva, which is what is explained in some of the schools of thoughts. So basically that's, you know, it is this idea of bringing energy, letting energy move so that we reach our potential, our ultimate potential in life. So this is what this is about. And also to kind of talk about the obstacles on the path of these, on the path of this rising of the Kundalini from the bottom to reach our full potential, what is known as the 3 psychic knots. And so for those who are familiar with the term, it's granthis. And so there are three knots in our body that kind of prevent this energy from moving up, if you like. So the first one is called Brahma, so not to be confused with Brahman, which is what we are. So Brahma Granthi, which is around the Muladhara chakra area. So this is any attachment to excess physical pleasures, material objects, and excessive selfishness. will kind of keep that psychic knot tied, so which will mean that the chakra will not, that the energy will not be able to rise. So what these are, as I've just said, is physical pleasures, material objects, excessive selfishness, and all these kind of qualities. And here, if you remember when we talked about tamas, so this is what tamas is. So one of the three qualities, tamas, rajas, and sattva. So this is when there's a lot of negativity, lethargy, ignorance, then that keeps the knot tied. And also, it's kind of just as well, because if we're not ready for the energy to move up, then it should stay where it is, because otherwise it's just not something that we can cope with. Then the second psychic knot, slightly higher up, is the Vishnu knot, or the Anahat, or the heart chakra, and that's bondage to people. So or inner psychic vision. So this is connected with rajas, with this quality and tendency towards passion, ambition, assertiveness, and all that, which kind of, again, is an obstacle keeping the chakras blocked, and the granthi, the knot there, is also tied. And then the final one is the Agnya place, so that's the Rudra. So you can see the Trinity there for these three names, and that's associated with psychic powers and the concept of ourselves as individuals. So kind of holding on to this ability, well, this idea of who we are. And then the psychic powers is just that there are yogic psychic powers that people have, and when they kind of progress and they reach these things, they might kind of get very attached to these powers, and then they don't kind of want to let go of these powers as well. And that's and in that case, the Rudra granthi keeps being tied. So here, I've given you kind of a little bit of whistle tour of what the chakra is, what the Kundalini is. And here, I mean, I've introduced the Kundalini now because we're talking in the language of Tantra, but again, the rising of the Kundalini is not just, there are loads of practices that actually can lead to the rising of the Kundalini. It's not just what I've mentioned today. So there are, all sorts of Hatha Yoga practices, which are direct practices, and there are also practices to do with mantra initiation, where people practice them very in a very sort of systematic manner, and being initiated into it, and people do that, and then that's how that also leads to this rising of the Kundalini, but in a very sort of controlled manner, and with a lot of, it takes a lot of dedication, a lot of patience for these things to actually happen. So I think the reason I'm mentioning this is that, sometimes you kind of think people are just talking about, I'm working on my chakras and opening of these chakras and all that kind of stuff. I mean, these can be quite dangerous practices to do when people are wanting to do them directly without having the whole lifestyle about it, and without being able to cope with it. And also, I mean, there are some people who've kind of been looking at techniques of doing this so quickly that they can't cope with it, and that's not really what we are about, and that doesn't lead to self-realization in a way that we want it to be. So I just kind of wanted to sort of raise your awareness about, so don't be too impressed when people are kind of saying this is what they're doing and they're opening their chakras and all that kind of stuff. I mean, there's a lot of bragging that goes on as well, and there's a lot of things that people are not ready for, and as we can see here, and the reason I wanted to talk about these three psychic knots is to kind of remind us, that as beginners on this journey, our practice is very much the yamas and the niyamas. So, you know, all sorting our lifestyle, getting rid of these qualities or that we don't need in our life, and cultivating things that we want, you know, or the yamas and the niyamas. So so that's why I wanted to kind of, you know, so if we want to kind of, you know, if people are trying to sort of make the Kundalini rise in a manner that's, but without all these things being sorted, then it can be a very dangerous practice. So I kind of wanted to sort of end with a few take-home messages for us. So it is a part of Hatha Yoga, and so to sort of work on the chakras and the Kundalini as well is part of that. And remember that the aim is self-realization. So the aim is not to gain promotion. The aim is not to, you know, but the aim is self-realization, to know who we are. And so it is, well, the chakras are quite helpful because they kind of, you know, once we work with them a little bit, we kind of start gaining an awareness of how we're feeling and where potentially we might be needing a little bit of help with, where we kind of, you know, if we are having emotional problems, so then that means, you know, we probably need to do a bit of work on with the heart chakra. And if we're feeling not grounded and insecure and, you know, all that kind of stuff, and it's just to kind of be aware and have a sense of how we are. So first of all, we need to kind of have that mirror in front of us to be able to do this work for ourselves, to know where we are at and what's actually really going on with us, and owning to our reality. And then kind of maybe use some of the practices to help us, you know, in a way. And there are asana practices to, you know, to deal with each one of them, and depending on how we feel, we think what we think we might need. So obviously, you know, we started our physical practice based on the physical benefits that we want to get. But as we move on, advancing our yoga practice is not about being able to do more challenging poses, but it's about being able to use these tools for ourselves, for our well-being, for our spiritual development, and to really be aware of what's going on in our body. So really, that's the aspiration in terms of how we want to advance our yoga practice. So there are kind of more subtle practices tailor-made to, you know, based on how we're feeling, that we can actually do. So sometimes even in the yoga class, I'd say, you know, this, you do this if you feel like this, or do that if you feel like that. So, you know, it even takes a little bit of time to develop that kind of awareness, to know how you're feeling first of all. And that's one thing that you know, is good to be aware of. And also, I think I've mentioned that before, is that, you know, each experience is very unique. For chakras, is to try not to compare things, and not to, you know, so, you know, if we're using colors to visualize chakras, and, you know, not visualize, you know, you close your eyes and you see it, and that's not that's beyond the reach of most of us. So what we try and do is we kind of bring, you know, we imagine something. We don't just see it, but we imagine, we bring a mental picture in our head of what we think we want to see it is. So, but, you know, again, so just be patient, and that if that's the way it is, then that's true for 99% of us. You know, that's how we do it. And also, if we still can't see colors, it's fine. You know, you can just imagine a color. If we say a color green for the Anahata chakra, you can visualize, you know, the green. You can visualize a big patch of grass and how that green is, or, you know, so that you've got your own way of doing it, and there's no reason to kind of compare experiences. And again, you know, as I said earlier on, where you kind of feel these different chakras, again, there is no exact precision. And if you kind of feel it in certain areas, or you get used to visualizing them in certain areas, then that's what you stick with. and each experience is valid, and as with everything else in life, we don't engage in that business of comparing, you know, so we are well beyond all that, I hope, and that's the aspiration. And again, we're not judging progress. This is how I'm progressing with this. It's just something that we, you know, we practice, we let go, and we just trust that the practice will work for us, or if it doesn't, you will know later on. But we're not really, you know, it's not like a task-based thing, which is what society enables us, well, encourages us to be. So this is the bit that I've said earlier on. So remember, the yamas and the niyamas are very important for us. And also, well, we will kind of in our interactive sessions and in Monday classes, we'll start working a little bit more on the chakras and chakra meditations, and a little bit more on that now and again, not always, but you know, so just so you get an idea, and if you connect with it, then that's something that you might want to practice more of or less of. So that's where I wanted to finish today. And we will finish with a prayer. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamadachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.